Oh, Robin, you made it, so I don't have to take notes.
Hi, yes.
How was your travel? You said you were
It was
just
a-
getting back today?
No, I got adjusted. I've been back since Monday.
Ah, I was prepared by the way, Robin. I would have taken notes if you hadn't made it.
You know, when I sent out the amended notes, I should have let you know I was here. Sorry. Didn't mean to keep you in the dark.
All good.
I was hoping more people from our committee would be on, so let's just wait one more minute. Okay, call the meeting to order, 7:02. Do we have any public participation? Any public participation? Going once.
Hi, I'm going off camera. I'm just walking to my office. I'll be on in a sec.
All right. So I think we will wait to approve last month's meeting minutes.
We have quorum.
Okay,
So I motion to approve the amended minutes. We can try to vote and see what happens.
okay.
Second.
Sorry, who said second?
Tiana, second.
Thank you.
All right, Chris,
I'll abstain because I was not at the last meeting.
Tiana,
Yes, aye.
Robin,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Julie,
Can you hear me? Yes. Yes.
Lillian?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Is that enough?
That's enough.
All
Thank
right. Minutes passed. Next item on the agenda is to have a presentation on the open space and recreation plan from the Conservation Commission and their consultants. So I can make whoever wants to share anything a co-host. Just let me know.
Thank you. I think Gabby will be sharing for us today, and then I'll be providing the presentation.
Okay. Making Gabby co-host. Feel free to share.
And Judy, I saw you come off mute. I don't know if you wanted to
I
say a
just
few
want to give
words.
a little background on the committee. We were formed last fall. We've had a couple of meetings. We had a public forum on April 27th. And there's also an open public survey that will close on September 1st. So if you haven't already, there's a link on the Conservation Commission's website. The plan, the previous open space plan is also there, and some current mapping, some draft maps. We already have some good initiatives coming out of the start of this. We have a new trail steward plan. We're looking at some of the tax title property to get that turned over for hopefully conservation purposes. So if you have any questions, comments, input, everything is appreciated. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Judy. And we can share that link to the survey in the chat once we're
Great.
kind of done
Thank
with the presentation and discussion.
We don't have chat.
Chat.
Never mind. Then we will just ask folks to go back to the Conservation Commission's website. Okay.
Are my slides showing? Good.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Perfect. So again, thank you for having us here. As Judy said, we're here to talk about the Open Space and Recreation Plan, or the OSRP for less of a mouthful. My name is Kelly King. I'm a planner on the project. I'm joined today by my colleague, Gabby Queenan. I will note that the project manager, Kristen Moravec, was unable to join us tonight, but she sends her best regards. Next. So just very quickly, we want to spend a few minutes going over some of the background to the OSRP, let you know where we are, and then kind of open it up to general discussion. Really, we'd like to hear from you folks tonight. So next slide, please. So first things first, what's covered in an open space and rec plan? It's right there in the name, but those kind of open space and recreation can be a little bit confusing. So for open space, we're talking about public and private undeveloped land, and it has to have some sort of conservation or recreation interest or benefit. And then when we're talking about recreation, this plan is quite specific. It's only talking about outdoor recreation spaces, so things like your neighborhood parks and playgrounds. Next slide, please. So we've missing a slide, but just to kind of back up and thinking about why we need an OSRP. These are important plans to ensure that we're protecting and stewarding resources responsibly, as the OSRP serves as this kind of central guiding document for long-term policy decisions about how Wakefield should be using and managing its open space and recreation resources. They are also very important to support efforts to acquire funding, as some state funds are only accessible if you have an active approved OSRP. And it's obviously advantageous on any sort of grant application to be able to demonstrate public support for a potential project and its outcomes, especially if that project and its kind of goals are kind of already incorporated into the OSRP. So thinking about what's in the OSRP, these follow a very prescriptive format. There's 11 required sections, all with kind of fancy names, but essentially the plan is covering what the current status of Wakefield and its resources are. So kind of where are we now? It identifies what the community wants out of its open space and recreation resources and what those resources need to thrive. So asking, where do we want to be? And then it creates a plan to ensure the communities and resources needs are met, which is kind of answering the question of how do we get where we want to be. And so public engagement is obviously important throughout the entire plan development process, but it's particularly critical for the needs assessment to make sure that we're accurately capturing the community's needs and wants, and also the resources needs. And we're hoping to hear your perspective on those open space and recreation related challenges and opportunities tonight. Next slide. So at this point, we have kind of done a good bit of public engagement. We're looking to begin drafting that needs assessment. Obviously, we'll be incorporating some of what you are saying into that needs assessment, so we're happy to be here tonight. It will also start to draft some possible goals and objectives and actions. And once that draft is prepared, we'll kind of bring this back to the public, ask what did we get wrong, right? What needs adjusting to make it more appropriate for Wakefield. Eventually, we will distribute kind of the full draft of the OSRP to the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, and the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is your regional planning agency, for required letters of support. And I think at this point, our timeline, we're aiming for fall and winter of this year to submit to the Division of Conservation Services for final review and approval. Next slide, please. So OSRPs address a range of topics, not just how to recreate or where to recreate. They also address things like climate resilience or healthy lifestyles, walking and biking connections. And so we really want to emphasize that the OSRP aims to support the town's existing plans. It aims to build off existing kind of processes that is inclusive of the master plan process. So a lot of what we are incorporating into the needs assessment, some of that is coming out of public engagement that's occurred during the master plan process. Next slide, please. So at this point, we want to stop hearing from me and more turn the questions back on to you to think about what are those accomplishments you would like to highlight in the plan that would be, things that we can build off of. What are some of those biggest challenges? And thinking about the needs and what we want to do to address those, and then thinking about where future opportunities are, both for new projects, policies, and just in general, where do you see future opportunities for recreation in Wakefield? So I think I will ask Abby to stop sharing because it's a little bit more pleasant to look at folks instead of a presentation. But before we jump into more of an open discussion, if there's any sort of general big picture questions, I'm happy to take those, or we can just jump right into things.
So I guess, were you going to show us the draft plan, or is this more discussion?
We're hoping that this is more discussion. For the draft plan, we are still in the process of drafting it. So we have a steering committee that Judy mentioned we stood up as we began the plan. So the steering committee has been very helpful in reviewing the portions that we have drafted so far. And so that's more of the background portions. When we go back to the public for the second public event, that's really going back with these goals and objectives and actions. And that's really asking the public, are these appropriate to Wakefield? What needs adjusting, and how can we tweak things to make them work better? So that will be kind of upcoming, timing TBD on that.
Okay, because I was sent a draft plan and I sent it around to the committee. So I guess I thought that we would be going over that in this presentation, but that's not the case then.
I'm not entirely sure what document that was. Maybe that was the previous plan. Judy, I don't know if
Sean Cash, I think Judy, you had sent it around and Sean sent it to me.
It starts at section 3 though, so I wonder, is that a portion of?
Not, I sent it to the committee. I mean, I didn't know, I don't think it's a big deal that it was sent around. I didn't know he was sending it around.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely not a big deal.
No,
that is what you saw, section 3 through 5. Usually we start that first because that's the actual meat. The sections 1 through 2 is basically the introduction. But those are kind of the draft pieces of the inventory, asking what's the current status of things. So I guess you actually get a little bit of a sneak peek. And again, if you have thoughts on those, obviously we would love to hear those. So any other questions?
I have a question, I guess for Judy, who probably knows the town best, through community meetings and through this research, what has surprised you in terms of resources the town has or maybe doesn't have that you thought we did?
What surprised me is the extent of the current trails that are used that are kind of under the radar. I think there are a lot of places that we're looking at for more pocket park types of areas. I mean, I would like to see it. There are 7 voting districts, and if there were a certain area that was unique to each district, that's what I would like to see in the plan. But I think the most surprising thing are the trails. And now that we have some trail stewards and we're going to have some signage, I think that's going to be a big boost. Get people, to see the other areas of town. And
Do you think that,
sorry.
I was gonna say, do you think that folks are using trails only the ones within their, you know, from walking from their house, or do you think that people are traveling across town to certain trails?
I think it's mainly proximate in their neighborhood. But I think now that we have connecting areas, it will get them into different, and the more they're publicized, I think it makes a difference. You know, because there really are some trails in virtually every section of town. So I think it would, you know, get people out to different parts of the town and maybe heighten some more interest in open space. See what kind of spaces, whether it's the wetlands, vernal pools, just heighten some interest in protecting these areas, because that's one thing that's really a common theme through all the open space plan updates that we've had since 1986 and the master plan, the most recent one. The overwhelming response is the desire to preserve and protect open space. I mean, that's been the number one thing. It's the lake and it's open space. So I'm hoping the master plan coupled with this update will really invigorate things and get, you know, a stronger hold on what we have left in town.
Okay, so thinking about the Environmental Sustainability Committee specifically, and thinking about that needs assessment, you know, we would love to hear if there's recent accomplishments from your committee or just generally that you really think are important to highlight in the plan, are important to kind of try and build off of and keep momentum going in those aspects. Any sort of recent accomplishments that you would want to highlight?
I mean, Julie, you were working on like land protection. We did have a land protection subcommittee, which Julie was a part of, and so I don't know if there's anything from that.
Yeah, and yeah, we definitely need to reconstitute that. But and that land committee really worked on the stewards and I think the trails, and we're really trying to raise awareness around that. I was actually at the youth council yesterday, and there's a lot of interest there. We actually have a lot of young birders, believe it or not, in town in the youth council. Like they're literally like very into birding and tagging birds, and so I think there may be, you know, that's one angle that I hadn't thought a lot about, but something we might want to keep in mind. I also think that, and I assume you're doing this, and I have not looked at the plan that was sent around, but I think the energy park and the light department may have some, and Judy, I don't know whether that's being included. I know I've really focused on kind of like tax, you know, being very much that I don't want to give away tax land until we know whether we can use it as open space. But I know that the light department, when they're working on the energy park and trying to look at kind of some swaps, that there might be some pocket parks in some areas of town that really could use it. So hopefully that's being looked at. And I guess the third thing I would just add is I think we have a real appetite for community gardens. We only have one right now. It's always oversubscribed. And I think that's a good indicator that there is an appetite for more in other parts of town.
The energy park hasn't been finalized yet with conservation. There was some negotiation back and forth about protection on one area, and that's still up in the air.
Okay. But I think it's
I don't think I don't know if the approval has come through yet, but chapter 97, the article.
I know it hasn't. It got its third reading like 2 weeks ago in the legislature.
Yeah.
So it's coming, it's imminent.
Yeah, because I thought a part of it was it needed approval from the Conservation Commission.
I think they take recommendations from the Conservation Commission. So it'd be really great if the Conservation Commission could recommend something, because then they would probably be more likely to. Anyway, I think I don't think it's really about the energy park, but what I realized was that light department has little pockets around town that might be able to be used, or, you know, that might be able to be part of this.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I think-
Julie.
I think for me, it's just creating, you know, as much green space as we can and maintaining and preserving it as much as we can. You know, I don't know if the maintenance part, it would be up to DPW, or, we would contract that out, but, just keeping the green space that we do have clean and maintained, but also, adding as much as we can where we see it possible. Like, there's so much, parking lots that aren't used and are too big, and it's just, there's just a lot of opportunity, I think, to create more green space for underutilized areas that are paved. So that's my biggest thing.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, if you look at the Oak Street, Green Street intersection, Oak Green, Greenwood, they're going to make it safer. And in doing so, they're taking a lot of that cement out and putting in green space just to tighten up some of the turning radiuses. So that's a really good point, that it's not just kind of keeping things green, but maybe we could convert some things back into green where we're doing, where we're doing bike lanes, where we're doing safer intersections, things like that.
And maybe even in some of the parking lots that are being built with these buildings, keep being mindful of having green strips, plantings, something, because usually it's just a straight asphalt. So I think when we're looking at permitting, that's something else to consider.
Well, something that came up fairly recently was around if there are going to be plantings and green strips and things in those, like in the little margins around things, can they be native? Can they be wildflowers? Can they be pollinators, rather than lawn that needs to be mowed and needs to be sprinklered and stuff like that?
Or fake grass, which I've seen.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point. And that's something we've been talking about at conservation when it comes to, there are some towns that with their street trees around it, instead of having a grass area, they'll have a native grass, something that doesn't require maintenance, but it also gives some protection for the tree, and it's going to be self-sustaining. And it saves so much in water. I think that's something that could be stressed. The more natives you have, the less water you need. I mean, that's a big concern at this point. And I think this, with the raising temperatures, there needs to be a lot more focus on the value of trees.
Yeah, and I think also we should look into opportunities to build rain gardens, considering the amount of flooding that we will have seen and will be seeing.
Right. The commission is actually going to have a seminar in the next couple of months from a company in Charlestown, Offshoots, about how to capture rain stormwater on your own property. So going over rain gardens and creating your own. I think little things like that can kind of spur, people to push the town, whether it's a new project or other areas of town to use. And I know Bill Renault has been really in the forefront of that in different areas. He's a big proponent of rain gardens, and I know he has some ideas for them as well. But I think the more public interest in it, the better. I agree. It's really needed.
Is that something
And we
that
need the
more people
can,
can more of us join that presentation about rain gardens?
yes, it'll be a public forum. Yep. And I think that's something else, that the lack of infiltration we have, you can have an underground chamber, but you're losing all the benefit of having the direct percolation into the ground. And I think maybe there needs to be a second seminar about that, about the value of retaining our own.
Judy, if I can just weigh in here, sorry, this is my first meeting I've been to, but a couple things. The Wakefield zoning ordinance does have some requirements for green space and parking lots. So that does exist. So people putting in, Joe and I serve on the Board of Appeals. People are not allowed just to put in straight asphalt. They have to comply with the zoning ordinance. Secondly, with street trees and new developments, there's a lot of communities that require the developer to put in the street tree and to care for it for 5 years with sprinkling and everything else. So after the 5 years, obviously the the logic is if it survives the first 5 years, then it has a better chance of surviving long haul. And those provisions also include structured soil and other things that would help the tree, thrive. And some provisions about keeping it away from the street far enough so plows and the salt that comes up
Right.
will have such adverse impact on the tree. So there's some things to look at there. For sure, but
The important thing with that too, though, is like making sure that they're native, and we're working on policies to try and push people towards more natives.
for sure.
Sorry,
Yeah, can I
Haley,
s-
are you part of the public?
Hi, sorry, I'm with the Conservation Commission and also the Open Space.
Oh, okay.
Committee.
I think these are all really fantastic opportunities. A lot of times when we hear other communities talking about these similar wants for kind of increasing stormwater management, incorporating more green space, having more green space provided as part of development, a lot of times those first steps are related to regulatory reviews and revisions or public education about, it looks like we've had a bunch of weeds put in, but actually those are beautiful native plants. So what are some of those kind of important first steps that you think are critical for Wakefield to advance these sorts of opportunities that you've been talking about?
So I guess one question with the plan, does it include an educational piece?
I think during the public engagement process, we certainly try and build in kind of public education about why these sorts of resources are important, not just for the fact that you can go and recreate there, but their importance for climate, their importance for cooling or flooding mitigation. And then as an OSRP for those actions, we certainly try and incorporate actions that are related to public education so that 7 years from now when Wakefield is, updating this OSRP, there's even more kind of public support and knowledge about why these resources are important and what they can do for us in the community.
Yeah, I think like public education is one thing that's lacking when it comes to the green spaces that we have around, and especially signage. So that should hopefully be part of this plan.
I also like what Tom said about the zoning too. I wasn't clear whether we actually do we have those, the tree rules in the 5-year and the structured soil, or are you saying other communities have it?
Other communities have it. We have some provisions in our zoning ordinance that require a certain amount of green space and parking lots. But
Okay.
not the things I was talking about. Things I was talking about more related to street trees and
Yeah.
trees that communities require developers to put in the public realm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think we're doing a lot of looking at zoning from a lot of different ways right now. It might be a good time to think about those aspects.
Right,
Definitely.
especially if we're doing the density areas around the train stations, like making sure that when provisions call for density, that they aren't density in an asphalt forward way, but density with green space. One other thing I want to mention in relation to sort of the native plants, are those weeds or are those wildflowers? We did a post recently about an invasive species of a particular weed that is running rampant, and it was the most engaged with post we've had in months. Everyone is very interested in black swallow root.
Yeah.
So I wonder also if part of this is, pro-native and also, raising awareness for keeping up the spaces and trying to get rid of some of the invasive plants that get in and sort of what to do with it so that it doesn't just get into all of those sort of margin spaces and the, you know, sides of playgrounds and things.
When I think of open spaces, I want to think about that it's available to lots of people with lots of needs, and I know that is very complicated in different ways, but people often think first just mobility in terms of those in a wheelchair, but having things universally designed is more than just people in wheelchairs. It can be audio, it can be visual, it could be language, so I don't see yet of how we are making opportunities available for folks who may not be obvious how they would use it or how to get to it. So trying to expand those, to make it more available for others. I think COVID people were not forced, but they had the time and the interest to get out to, get fresh air, and they found things, but, to make it, trailheads, lots of different ways to communicate with people and to make it usable.
I think that's a great point. And I will say that the traditional kind of ADA evaluation is an important part of the plan. I think we actually just wrapped up those site visits last week, and we'll be kind of drafting that portion of the plan quite soon. I think concepts like universal design are something that we try and include in these plans and talk about. And there are, obviously very great examples around Wakefield of communities that are looking at universal design and accessibility, not just in terms of physical accessibility, but accessibility for people of all abilities. So those are certainly things that we like to incorporate and think about.
Great.
And I also know that I was only given 20 minutes, so I don't want to overstay my welcome. If there's any last comments before we let you all get on with the rest of your agenda, I would love to take those.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that, are you looking at, impacts of climate change and resilience and that type of thing in this plan?
We certainly do, and that's something that we try and incorporate very strongly in thinking about some of those environmental challenges that Wakefield is experiencing. We look at the sort of climate change mitigation adaptation work that the town is doing, and thinking about how open space and recreation resources can provide those kind of multiple benefits of recreation and climate change mitigation. And also think in terms of, how do these resources need to be stewarded so that they themselves are resilient against climate change. So I think more and more often that's something that absolutely is central to these plans and has to be incorporated.
Do you also look at watersheds? I mean, I know we're kind of like on a corner, I think, of the Mystic watershed. Will that be something that you consider as well?
Yes, that's something that is touched upon in those kind of inventory sections. Then we certainly think about kind of the ways in which open space and recreation resources can feature in the community's stormwater management programs, for example.
Okay.
My question was scheduled. You mentioned hoping to go to the state this fall for their review. What other milestones? I think there may be another public meeting. Do you have a sense of when that will be, or any other moments of which we can help promote to get people's inputs, or just their getting up to speed so they can support it?
I think we will likely aim for kind of, I guess, what's considered late summer, maybe early fall is more appropriate to say, a September, October. I think at this point we need to kind of revisit with our steering committee and pick out some appropriate dates for that kind of second public event. So I don't know that I can say with certainty when the next public event would be at this point. But go ahead, Judy, I saw you.
No, I was going to say I'll be at the farmers market on August 26th.
Oh, yes.
Krista.
To talk about the plan, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
August 26th, you'll be there? Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna add it to some of my calendars. All right.
Yeah, I guess just one last question about, like, once we have this plan, who in town is in charge and like carrying it out?
So a very important portion of that implementation plan is not just identifying this kind of wish list of actions, it's also identifying a general timeline for when those actions should occur, who the primary party responsible for those actions are, who are the supporting parties, for actions where it's relevant, also identifying potential funding sources. So it's not just a wish list of what the town would like to do in 7 years. It's more of a kind of a sketched out plan of who's going to be doing what and what potential funds may they be relying on and who can support them.
That's great. Thanks.
And I think it's one of those documents that can be used by not just the permitting boards, but when people have, it's something that can be referred back to if they have an interest at something at a hearing, they can point to that in the open space plan as an example of, well, this is what was the majority of people had wanted, and trying to push things forward that way as well. So so it can be an ongoing living document. So it's not just, I'd like to see it referred to regularly. I know the commission refers to it when they, sporadically, but they have referred to it. But I think it's important to keep these documents active because so much participation from the public goes into it, and it should be used. If this is what people are looking for, then it should be taken into consideration. And I think it helps the permitting boards too. It gives them some guidance. If there isn't a lot of public participation at a certain meeting, they have that guidance that they can also refer to.
All right, anybody have any other last comments or questions?
I want to say it's kind of cool. I mean, I had no idea. Like I did look at the draft and the extent of looking into history, and I think the demographics is really telling because it kind of answers a lot of questions people have some assumptions about. So it kind of, you guys, maybe someone else has done it too, but it's kind of putting it all in one place, which is really handy.
And the survey is open till September 1st, if anyone hasn't taken it.
How the survey is going? Do we have a number of people that have taken it, or is it?
I have not looked since the end of last week, but at that point it was about 150. So we're very, very happy with that. But obviously are eager for more. As much as we can get is awesome.
Has it been out in the paper at all, or have we been trying to get it out there at all?
It's been in the paper. Dan McGrath from the rec department has put it on their Facebook, and he sent it out to a bunch of people in his group. So it's gotten pretty, I think, pretty good distribution. The commission has it on their webpage. It was on the front of the town webpage for a while. So
And have we put it on ours?
I think we did back when it first opened, but I just took a note to put it back on
Okay.
again and send folks that way. And to repost about the Trail Steward program. I know we posted also about that when it first opened, but if that's taking folks on a rolling basis, that's a good reminder to call for more stewards.
Yeah, if you can get it in the light department bills, everybody's got to open that bill, including renters, so.
I mentioned that, Tom. That's what I said, so put it in the bills.
Except for those people who do it electronically, but you're right. I think most people still do open it.
Yeah, I gave away my age there, but.
Well, the DPW's newsletter is the best one, or the town, that quarterly one.
We probably don't have time for that at this point, though.
it was in the last one.
Oh, perfect.
It did have it in, yeah.
Missed that.
And the Council on Aging was having it in their newsletter as well.
Great. Well, thank you for coming and sharing this with us and hearing our thoughts.
Thank you. And if anyone has any comments, anything they think of after the fact, please send me an email. That'd be great. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
all.
Thanks.
All righty. Let me share the agenda. So we are on item 5. So, one of the things that we had talked about previously and had a presentation about was the specialized stretch code. We had that presentation back in May from DOER consultant about the difference between the current stretch code that we are now under because of green communities versus the specialized code. I brought that PowerPoint up to take a look at. So I guess one thing that I wanted to bring forward for a possible vote was to create a warrant to bring to town meeting in the fall and to adopt this specialized code. And there's already a template out there that we can use, so it'll be pretty hopefully straightforward to put together the warrant. But we do need to have a committee vote in order for us as a committee to bring the warrant forward.
Do you have a draft? Do you have a draft motion of what that would look like? I didn't know if you had a vote to make something to then vote on the approval of it. So, what does it look like?
A draft what?
So you want someone to motion to us to approve us then creating something that we would then vote on to bring to town meeting? Because we're not voting on the language we're sending to town meeting, right? We're just voting to make something.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what does the motion need to sound like?
So motion to bring forward a warrant for the town to adopt the specialized stretch code.
Second. Or are you just saying that's what it would be? No, you can't make the motion because you're the chair. Forget that. But the warrants are not open yet, right? I'm trying to think. November, backing into this.
Probably September, right?
September, they'll probably open. So I think I'm all for taking a vote saying we want to do this. I do wonder whether then maybe like we assign somebody to come back and like actually review, even though I know that the state has language, I don't know whether there'll be certain things in our bylaws or our zoning that we'll have to reference. So we might need to look at it with a Wakefield lens on it.
And do we have to specify an adoption date or in effect as of?
Yes, and the state's recommending either January of, the state's recommending 6 months, I think, after it goes through, so that gives people time, right?
It's usually a January or July adoption.
Or January, July.
So it's
right,
not
that's what I
necessarily 6
remember.
months. It's your closest. It's no less than 6 months. So if you're,
So we would
vote
aim
in
for
November.
July.
Yes.
Go for July of 24.
So can I clarify? So the concern is that we won't have enough time to prepare the warrant for the November? Or is
Oh,
the-
no, we'll have plenty of time.
Okay, so really, right now, we're just looking for a motion to decide we're going to move forward and to prepare the draft. That's it.
Yes.
I'll make the motion. I motion that this committee go on record as wanting to move forward the specialized op code at the November town meeting. And to do so to prepare a warrant for a final vote for this committee, I guess. Might be a little redundant, but I think it's not bad to have 2 votes on this.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Let's go around then.
Before we vote, just Haley from Concom has her hand raised. I don't know if you're entertaining other non-committee people's comments. But her hand.
Yeah, I guess public participation's over, but if you want to make a quick comment, Kaylee.
Oh, quick question. I'm just curious, and maybe it's a dumb question. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but what is the stretch code warrant?
So it's a building code, basically.
Okay.
So
Okay,
when
thank
you yeah, when somebody is looking to do a major renovation or build something, they need to get a building code and they need to abide by certain rules according to that code.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Which is a good point. We'll have to do a lot of education on this. This is not.
Yeah, and I plan to, you know, get another, you know, expert to help us out in this, especially come to town meeting.
Yeah. Definitely. It mostly impacts, Haley, it mostly impacts really major renovations or new construction.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, let's go around then. Chris,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Stefan.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
So as a
So-
next step, who's writing up the,
Yes.
I'll help Melissa, because I think we're gonna have to sit down with Ben and.
I
some
know
of these
Tom
other
is
people.
like, was
And
also.
Tom, yeah, Tom's actually really been the lead, so if he'll take the lead, that's great, but let me know if I can help.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Tom and,
When's our September meeting? Because I think we should have it ready by then, because then we're gonna have to go into education mode.
September 14th.
14th. Okay, I'm around that day.
Okay, so we'll plan to have a draft review for that meeting. And I'll follow up with Tom and maybe we can get together or something, Julie, with him. And anybody else interested in helping?
not in the warrant part, but when we get to education mode, yes. So.
I'm happy to take a look at it.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Next item, update from subcommittees. So waste reduction subcommittee, we met recently, and the main thing that we're working on is a green business program for Wakefield. And we have put together a draft program that basically we drew off of other examples around the country that is kind of categorized by a number of points that you get for doing certain actions. And then we plan on, you know, having some sort of sticker or sign that businesses can put in their window and on their website, and to say that, you know, they're, you know, a bronze, silver, gold, green business in Wakefield. And yeah, it's really to, you know, push businesses to take on more sustainability actions and showcase them to their customers. And so we're going to be talking to Chamber of Commerce, Aaron Kokinda and Jen McDonald, hopefully within the next couple weeks, or maybe next week, to go over the program and kind of, you know, see what they think and get their thoughts and support, hopefully, and then we will figure out how to move forward with it.
Melissa, would you be able to present the program that you're offering to them at some point?
The one that we're going to talk to them about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was hoping, you know, to present it to them, and then, you know, if we need to make any tweaks or whatever, then, you know, finalize it as much as possible and then present it.
Gotcha. Okay, look forward to seeing it.
Did I miss anything else?
Well, we spoke with the Redish folks.
Oh yeah, Tiana and I talked to this company called Redish who offers reusable serviceware, and they basically wash and provide the serviceware for companies, schools, various groups. They're currently not in Boston yet, but they're looking to move into Boston. So I was mainly wanted to talk to them about the high school, and because I've been really pushing to get reusables in the new high school instead of starting out with disposables. So this is just basically a way for, the school employees, kitchen staff not to have to do, the dishes. It's basically kind of like a laundry service type of thing where, they take away the dirty dishes, bring back clean ones. And so, it reduces the amount of work for the school staff. So got some information about that, but it's a little ways away, considering they're not in Boston yet, but just kind of informational session. All right, next, building efficiency. Anything on this, Robin?
No, and I was thinking about it, so I'd love some feedback. So the voc, there's not opportunity for input at the moment. Even at the high school level, it's not the decision as a outsider, there's not a lot of opportunities for me to pipe in, and it's on a good track. So it's a great place. So I'm wondering, what else in town we should be looking and talking to folks about efficiency. I know that the capital planning committee, works with the DPW on looking at facilities on upgrades to different things, and when they talk about boilers in the schools. So I'd love feedback from folks on where you'd like to see if I can try to bring in some, input or discussion as a way to have this continue to live beyond just the two high schools.
Yeah,
So if anyone has feedback, just please let me know.
Yeah, one project that I just learned about was that the library's getting a new roof. And I had asked the library people whether they're planning to put solar on it, and they said they didn't know. They said to ask DPW, and I asked Ann, and she said we don't know. So I'm not sure who's managing that whole thing, but it'd be great if we could put solar on it. That's something that you want to advocate for.
Okay.
We were also talking in our last greenhouse gas inventory / green communities meeting, I think, a bit about there were some energy efficiency projects that were getting, moving ahead as part of our green communities plan. So I don't know, just I guess for us as a community, a committee, just sort of keeping track or keeping tabs on where those projects are, and maybe there's some, good results from those projects we could help to sort of communicate out to the community.
Definitely.
Or think about what could be next in the pipeline of other energy efficiency work that we should be doing in our buildings.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So not to merge yet another subcommittee into the to the one we have, but maybe there's some crossover conversation there.
And Robin, the other one that I'm hearing is gonna start coming up is the senior center. There's a whole floor on the senior center that's not being used right now, and so I think it's being cleaned out, and there's some talk of kind of making it more of a community center and making it like a youth and more of a community center. So some better utilization of that building. So maybe there's some opportunity. I don't think it's a big capital investment at this point, but there might be some opportunities there, some low hanging fruit.
Okay. Chris, I think you are correct. There's always been some natural overlap of greenhouse gases, but you guys have found that, you know, was learned after kind of some other conversations. So it makes sense to learn from it.
Okay, dovetailing into that committee.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick update. We did have Stefan join the committee last time, so it's good to have another person there. We met last month. So back in June, we'd reached out to MAPC because there was like an open grant opportunity. But it turns out that they weren't really accepting any inquiries to that, except for staff, town staff people. So our sort of expression of interest was not really received. But separately, Melissa found some good work done by the town of Lincoln. And we've reached out again to MAPC and got a good response. So we'll be meeting with someone there to kind of just talk more about what it is that they can provide for support and resources for what we're trying to do. Which really as a next step is a sort of community-wide, community engaged climate action planning process. So I guess that's really all that's sort of happened since our last update, but we're at this point where we have one proposal from a consultant for some planning support for a process like that, but really feel like we probably need to get a little bit more buy-in from some town staff. And so what we talked about in the last meeting was getting a sort of an update to our inventory presentation, which we reviewed in this committee sometime, and putting a little bit more of an ask to get support for doing a planning process and talk more about what that process would be and why it's important and how we would engage the community and sort of make that ask. So I'm working on that, and hopefully we'll be meeting in another couple weeks to review a draft of that presentation, which I think we hope to show or share with the town council at some point. Anything, Stefan or Melissa, you would add to that?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just getting buy-in from town administrator, town council to move forward with this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out where that fits. Jonathan, our chair, has a whole kind of year mapped out, so I'm trying to figure out where we can fit into that. So I hope to get back to you on that quickly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess, Julie, the other question we had was about green communities reporting and like who is in charge of doing that? When does it happen?
I'm pretty sure, and I don't know whether you know, I'm pretty sure it's probably on a fiscal year or when we finish using the grant money, we certainly have to report on that. So we want to have, the previous year's grant money completed so that we can go after more grant money. And so that will be when we report on everything, but I will find some more information out on actual timing.
So I can let you know that a lot of the materials have been ordered and have been delivered. The contractor for the lighting is all set. He's our electrician that we have a bid for the DPW. So he's all set to go. So I can actually give you updates as things move on at our next meeting.
Awesome. Thanks.
So what is the first project that's going to be worked on?
So town hall is going to get new lighting. So
Okay.
those have been ordered. I know they're on site. I think they're just waiting to get a plan from the electrician on when he's going to get in there. I believe he's going to work either late nights or early mornings as to not disrupt the offices.
Okay.
Chris, the consultant you found, what was kind of the order of magnitude of the cost of their services, plus or minus 10,000?
Plus.
More than 10? So then you do need to get more than one bid if it's being paid for by the town. Or you have to reach out to more than, from a public procurement standpoint.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a starting point to know where you are, order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were as much interested in getting some perspective on proposed scope as the fee. So yeah, it definitely wasn't like a formal procurement process yet, but I think it sort of helps us figure out what it is we need to ask for approval for, since we don't have funding for any study right now really secured anyway. But yeah, good to know, Robin. Thank you.
All right, community education.
Sure. So the big community education thing we're gearing up for next is the EV showcase, which we spoke about last meeting. We already have 7 EV owners signed up to show off their vehicles, which is pretty good since we had 2 a week ago. One thing that we just did is we've got these little cards, little dashboard business cards. So if anyone thinks that, I've given some to Melissa already, and Julie, some are coming your way via my mother. But if anyone, tends to walk around their neighborhood and thinks they see some EVs parked nearby and you would like some, I've got a bunch more. I can drop them off with you, or you can pick them up from my place. But we're just like tucking them into someone's windshield. It just has a little QR code to sign up to participate. I've also posted it on our Facebook, and I encourage you to share. I'll send the link around after this meeting, but I encourage you to send it to any neighbors and friends you have in town who have EVs that they would want to show off. We're looking to get a good variety of vehicles, so don't only send it to all the people who have all the same car. And so far, we have a pretty good variety in the 7 that have signed up. The other piece that we need to figure out for that is getting a permit. I believe we need a permit to have an event in that lot. So I'm looking at maybe Anne or Julie, if you know.
Yeah, I know that Melissa sent, and I think we just fill out the portal.
Correct. Just fill out the portal and Sherry will give it the okay.
What
Got it.
portal is that?
If you go
Vote
on
portal.
to the town website, and I think you just go to events. Let's see. It's a great kind of, let's see departments about.
Tatiana, while she's looking, what's the date again?
Yes. Sunday, October 22nd. Is the anticipated.
In what lot?
We're looking to do it in the lot by Veterans Field where the farmers market happens. But since it's a Sunday, there won't be a farmers market then. Question is whether that space will be disrupted by the upcoming construction. I don't know if it'll be happening down at that end in second half of October or not. But that would be an ideal spot based on the size of the lot and that it has some chargers in it. So that's where we would aim to have it if possible.
And to do it, you just go to About Wakefield, plan an event, and then under reserve your location, there's an outdoor events, apply for a permit. That should bring you to the portal.
Great. I will do that. And if I get stuck, I know where.
Yep. And so just so everybody knows, so that you put in what you want there, and then it goes to every department in town. So the DPW will look at it to make sure there's no overlap. The police will look at it to make sure. So everybody will sign off, and you'll just get updates every time somebody signs off. Or puts a condition or something on it.
Yep. Okay, awesome. And we have some flexibility if they say no, that that time doesn't work.
Make sure they know that it's a town committee.
Yes.
Be very clear about that. I don't think you'll need details or anything, but.
Yeah, I guess the question is, does anybody know what the construction schedule is for that area?
What are you looking at?
I can get back to you on that, just because the weather and it's been crazy and things are tentative. I'll let you know. I'm sure they can work something out though.
Okay.
If we can't do it there, maybe the Lincoln lot, the Lincoln Street lot on a Sunday might be another option. So I think there's options too, if you don't want to change the date.
So yeah,
Can we
please
bring
help-
electric bikes too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think we decided plug-in hybrids are welcome as well. Regular old gas hybrids, not so much. Plug-in hybrids, yes. And electric bikes, electric scooters. I mean,
And I'm sure Tom
electric
Betcher's on this.
rollerblades
I
would
know
be
he's
that
not on tonight, but I'm sure the light department will want to be involved as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he said
yeah,
last
he
time
would.
that they would have like a table there or something.
Okay, I know I missed the last meeting.
Deanna, if we want to participate, do we email you directly or what's the best process?
No, you should fill out the form that's
Okay.
at that link, which I will
Okay.
send out as soon as the meeting is over.
Okay, excellent, perfect.
But please fill out the form so that you're in the same list as
Okay.
all the other participants.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Other stuff. So we sent out a recap. We're continuing to post stuff. As I mentioned before, got a lot of engagement about the Black Swallow route. That was a deep feelings topic. And I think, Anne, I sent you a question, which you said you were going to look into of if there's Black Swallow route on public lands, folks want to know if, should they go catch it? Or just let the DPW know?
Yeah, I'm gonna say right now, just let us know. I tried to get a hold of Dennis. He's been crazy busy, so I will follow up with him this week.
Cool, sounds good. And then I sent out question for the group. I sent out an email to our email list, our ESC announce email list for like 40-ish people with a recap of the July posts, all of the plastic-free July and this EV showcase and a handful of other things. And I know some people did not get it. So I'm wondering, did anyone get it? It was a great email with like a list of 10 plastic-free July things. I think I sent it on maybe July 31st.
I've received them in the past. I can't say I remember July
Subject
one.
line was ESC July Roundup, EV Showcase, Plastic-Free July, and more.
I didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
Didn't get it either.
But some of you have gotten my past emails to that
Something's
list.
going on with that.
Right.
Let's serve.
Okay, well, I sent a note to Sean, who is our list liaison, figure it out. But yeah, so that one apparently didn't go. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I got it, the ESC email received it.
Right, but I sent it, I CC'd directly the ESC email, and then otherwise it went to that ESC announce list.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay, so it was off that, yeah,
it must be the list. It wasn't just that the email didn't go.
okay, got it.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
And then just only other thing is when we get that warrant for the opt-in stretch code, would love folks' ideas on how we educate about, like just sort of the right language to use to get people to understand what that's about and why it's important, so that coming into that November town meeting, folks understand it. So.
Yeah, I think there's stuff out there on that's already created.
Yeah,
so.
if in the process of working through this, anyone finds good resources, feel free to send them my way. We'll gather up some info.
Okay.
I think that's it for me.
On a note on education, I think within 12 hours of whoever posted it first about the metal recycling bin, I saw it everywhere, all over like different people talking about it. It was great.
Yes, I shared so the town posted about it. ESC shared it, and then ESC shared it to other Facebook groups. So yes, that one was that's exciting and great job, Anne. That's very cool. The metal recycling one.
I've already used it.
I've already used it.
I was gonna talk about it when it gets to me.
All right, that's all for me.
Thank you. All right, updates from member groups, Snow School Committee and DPW.
So with the metal container, Went in and so it's already been filled. Today we got a dividend check because we dropped it off. So it already filled up once in a little over a week, which is awesome. And people were putting some great stuff in there. Gas grill, there was a storm door, there were pots and pans. People put in knives. It was really good. So I'm gonna guess it was about 4,000 pounds that we brought over to Lynn the other day. So that's pretty awesome. And that was just with minimal, with like a soft opening type of thing. So as we get some more information out there and some other ideas of what can be put in there, we assume that it's going to be very busy as the cardboard.
You think you may need another dumpster?
I think we're going to be emptying it multiple times in a week.
So what was the value of the first dump?
$187.40. That was what the check was for, but be reminded, all that would have went either through a white goods pickup, a bulk pickup, or right in the trash. So we're very excited that it's for probably, I mean, say half of it would have gone through been picked up by JRM. So
yeah. No, that is awesome. So how frequently can you dump it? I mean, like, do you guys have a?
Oh, we could go every day if we had to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have one of our trucks can just pull that right onto it, go to Lynn. It took an hour and 15 minutes. Drop, pick up, get the check, come back.
How often, I'm curious, how often you do the cardboard dumpster? How often is that
Usually,
emptied?
it usually goes once a week. It's been averaging about 500-600 pounds. It's a lot of cardboard.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've been there, it's been
full,
nearly full. I crammed my last couple boxes in there.
Yes.
That's great.
What's next?
I am working on the Christmas lights, string lights for right after Thanksgiving and run it through Christmas. My hope is to set it up like at Town Hall by the dumpster, and then people can just pull in, drop and go. You don't need a pass. You don't have to worry about it not being plowed if God forbid we have snow. So I'm working on that, and I'm talking to Joe about it today, and he's all on board. So we should have that. I should have that ready.
That's awesome. I'm sure that's going to be full in no time.
Yeah. I haven't decided what kind of container yet, but yes, we'll work on that.
Great.
That's all from us.
And did I see in the draft open space recreation plan that there's programming that you're working on around rain gardens through the DPW?
So yeah, so I think Julie had said Bill's huge on the rain garden. So I think everything now will be considered to, if we can put one in, we'll put one in. And I think they're pretty.
Is that in consideration for public spaces, not for like educating residents on how to create
public spaces? Yes.
Ah, okay, got it. So if we want to do some education on folks creating their own rain gardens in their own space,
I am sure engineering
do
would
that
be happy to join in on that.
oh sure.
And I
Cool.
think
Maybe that'd
Judy
be a
said the
topic.
Conservation Commission is going to do that on their own.
It sounded like they were getting a presentation about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
we can jump in on that and then propagate.
And did we ever figure out where that Trex bench went?
No, Lou swears that Tim has it. Did you ever hear back from Tim? Okay, I'll follow up with both of them tomorrow.
Because Julie, I don't know if the Greenwood PTO, apparently we promised them the bench. I don't remember doing that, and
I think that they were the first ones to jump on.
It might predate you, Melissa. It's that old. I actually thought about it when I was at the pit on Wednesday and looking over to that pile with the traffic light and stuff like that. I'm like, what happened to the bench?
Yeah, and then there was a misunderstanding that we got so much we could do all of them, but I'm pretty sure Greenwood was the first in. So yeah, if we find it, I think it goes to Greenwood, and not just because I'm an ex-Greenwood alum mom.
Yeah, I don't think Tim had any knowledge of this whole thing, so we'll have to,
We'll track it down.
yeah,
I'll track it down. Yeah.
okay.
Melissa, this is, I guess, less about DPW, but more maybe on food waste. It being, I can't believe I said, it's August. We need to start thinking about pumpkin collection.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Alright.
just, I mean, we, last time was a little thrown together, but at some point, maybe, put heads together on at least setting a date and stuff like that, just so it's in the books and we can worry about it. But
You did such a great job last year. I nominate you to do it again.
I don't know if this year my work schedule will be so flexible, but we'll see.
Julie, any updates?
Not a whole lot. The bike ped plan is being discussed and probably voted on at town council rather, not this meeting, so maybe September or October. So that is a big deal. The quench buggy, did everybody see the quench buggy? I think we're the first town in Massachusetts, other than, I mean, the MWRWA obviously has had one, but yes, so we have our own water truck now that will be rolling into events and hopefully cutting down on all the plastic in our trash stream along with everything else. So and anybody who wants to use that for an event just needs to go on, I think just send a note to Sherry Dalton, or there might be a form online. I haven't kind of.
Yeah, so excuse me. So yeah,
Yeah.
go through the same event online and there's a box you can check for the quench buggy.
Where does this buggy live?
It's at the water department down on Broadway.
It's pretty awesome. We used it at the open streets last weekend. And I think we should just probably have it out on Saturdays and Sundays, nice Saturdays and Sundays around the lake. People loved it.
Yeah.
So it holds a lot of water. It chills it eventually.
The MWRA one was at Farmers Market some weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't last week. I think they've signed up for that all summer because we weren't sure when ours was coming.
Oh, okay. So it's not worth us having ours there if they're going to be
Yeah,
there.
we just need to coordinate. But there's been a couple of times they haven't had theirs there. So
I thought it was the same one. It's not?
no.
Oh no, ours is like
ours is branded Wakefield.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Ours is way cuter.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, we should have it at the farmer's market every Saturday.
Yeah, so I think eventually it will. I just think that the MWRA one was already signed up, but we should probably reach out to Annie and find that out. But it will certainly be at Town Day in October. It can really be rolled into
check the
anything.
box
It could be
for it
rolled
to be
into
at the EV showcase.
It could be at the EV showcase. It could be at baseball games. Like, well, I don't want to speak for, I mean, the water, it does have to be pulled there and left there and plugged in. So there are some logistical things, but in general, I hope that it'll be used for all lake events, at least. So that's the big news. And then the 40A, Robin is also on that committee. That will also be a town meeting item. So there'll be a lot of discussion around that, which actually might segue pretty well with the stretch code discussion. So we should think about how those overlap.
What's the update on that?
You want to tell Robin?
Well, the last meeting was canceled, so I'm trying to think if there's been updates since we last met. So a proposed map of where the boundaries would be was sent to the state for preliminary informal review. They offered some comments about making sure we met the compliance the way the rules were, so we've had to adjust the map a little bit because they required the chunks to be of a certain size, and we had a bunch of chunks that we consider adjacent to each other and they have to be continuous. So there's been a few nuances that we've had to work around. But I don't know. I mean, I know myself and Melissa, you're not within a zone, but in some ways people won't notice a difference if it passes in terms of what the housing stock will look like, except that it'll, buildings will have the capacity to have more units in it. So I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is traffic.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily, I mean, people moving in isn't necessarily always gonna have a gazillion cars, so.
That's one thing that's still up for community input is how many spaces, parking
Yeah.
spaces. There's a big discussion, and we decided as a committee to let the community weigh in on that. I mean, the max will be what's in current zoning, but there's a discussion whether we go lower than what's in current zoning. Because they're gonna be so close to public transportation.
Yeah, I mean, there's that huge apartment building that's going up over by 95 on the Wakefield Reading line. That's
Yeah.
just gigantic.
Yeah.
I don't
that's
know how much
apparently,
parking is
yep.
gonna be there.
Yeah, that's, I think that is whatever's in our current zoning.
So not stretch code.
No, that's not stretch code. That's not
No.
stretch code and not 48.
No, stretch code, yes, because they would have gotten a permit after we passed the stretch code. It's
Oh,
not
no, you're right,
optimized
not the
stretch
opt-in
code.
stretch code, obviously.
Yeah,
You're right.
so,
You're-
yeah,
yep.
no, it post dates us having I think the stretch code.
The stretch code didn't have anything to do with parking, so.
No, and nor for the optimized. Those are different
No,
things.
exactly.
Um,
Except the optimized would have better EV ready stuff in it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. Going back to the quench buggy, can we have that at like all the games around town? Like I see so many water bottles being thrown around in the parks after games, and
I think we should talk about it. Maybe we should kind of do a little roadshow to the little leagues and everything. With football coming up. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my
Definitely
list. to talk
football.
to. Yeah.
So many people go to those games, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing to have it at kind of the home football games?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a really important piece of trying to get to zero waste event planning.
Yeah. So who determines like that person who runs the games would have to sign up for it, or?
Yeah, they would sign up for it. Like, for example, the Track Boosters is running they organize the Thanksgiving Day 5K around the lake, and they've already asked for it.
Yeah. So we can't do it for them.
So I think it's awareness raising of the event coordinators, because they have to think about where it will go and where it will plug in. But other than that, it's pretty low maintenance. I mean, Anne, I don't know, I'm speaking for DPW. There might be high maintenance behind the scenes. I don't know.
And there is a cost involved because if it's a Saturday or Sunday, it's someone's coming in to fill it up,
Yeah.
bring it down, plug it in, check it out, bring it back.
Okay.
We have to work some of those details out, I assume.
Yeah.
Maybe a sponsor we can get or something like that.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, we should talk about that. At the very least, it's definitely for any major town events, we can use it.
Great. All right, our next meeting is September 14th. Any matters unanticipated? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right, Chris,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Lillian,
Yes.
Stefan.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You too.